Hello there and welcome to Andy's Shed Live for this Sunday the 6th of September.
Hello there and welcome to Andy's Shed
2020. Hello there and welcome to the show. The gremlin's getting in there early today and yeah, just getting myself set up on the old chat. If you want to join us in the chat, remember that you can do if you are watching us live on YouTube. If you're not watching us live, unfortunately you can't chat to us, but if you do want to watch us live, we are generally live on YouTube for now, although the streaming platform might be changing. On YouTube for now, around about 6 p.m. we start every Sunday evening. There's a couple of people in the chat already, it would appear. Jimmy says hello Jimmy. Hope you've had a good week out there. We've started a couple of minutes early actually today. Early for the first time in my life for doing anything. So yeah, that's very unusual for me. I'm not normally a person to be early for things, let me tell you. Christopher 2000 from sunny Australia is there as well. But whatever time it is in the morning there. Morning, Christopher. Oh. It feels very strange saying good morning when it's like 6 o'clock in the afternoon here, but yeah, that's the magic of the old interweb there, I guess, for you. It's been a bit of a quiet week this week here. There's not been a great deal happening except for one thing, which I will come to later. But before we go any further, just got to do a little bit of housekeeping. Remember, if you want to get in touch with us, you can do. You can find us here. andyshed.corepress.net. That is the website that you can find us on. And if you've been trying to get in touch with us using the contact form on there this last couple of weeks or so, if it's not worked for you, try it again now. There has been a technical fault with it. We think we've fixed it now. So if you're trying to get in touch with us, try the contact us form again now on andyshed.corepress.net. That's the website to go to find back episodes and all kinds of other stuff as well about what we've been doing. Christopher says it's 2:59 a.m. in Australia. Wow. That's normally about my bedtime. That's normally about the time I go to bed here. So that's, yeah. So it's yeah. I can't get over. I can never get over this time difference thing. A friend of mine lives in America, in Alabama in America, and I really cannot work out sort of what time I send messages and stuff, and I get messages back, and it's like, I think, what the hell sort of time is this to be sending a message saying hello? Then I realise that over there it's a sensible time of day. So it does happen. It does. Right, it has been a quiet week this week, as I say. I have, however, been doing stuff. If you were watching a couple of weeks ago, you will have seen me unpacking loads and loads of telephone spare parts that I got from a dealer, a guy who basically he refurbishes telephones, but he's one of these people that puts modern reproduction cases on the phones that aren't necessarily the original colours. Now I don't generally do that. I try and keep everything original that I do. So I've basically went and grabbed all the cases and handsets that he'd taken off, and I'll probably one day end up putting them back on probably the same phones. But I have done my first, if I can get them from over here, I have done my first batch of handset cords and things. Arthur G is here as well in the chat. Evening, Arthur, or afternoon, or whatever it is. So here's the first batch of handset cords and things that I've done, and that I've restored. Basically, I will let you have a look at these when I get the camera on them. getting a camera in the right place is very difficult these days with this. Push things out of the way. Right, let's try that. Right, as you can see, there's all sorts of colours of handset cords there. There's a yellow one, there's an ivory one, there's a green one. The green one is interesting if you look at it because it's bigger. Can you see that is bigger? In fact, there's two green ones there. That's a green one, that's a green one. Can you see that one is bigger? If I can untangle them. Oh, I've got them all tangled up. The thicker one is an earlier one. They are both off 700 series phones, as you can see from the fittings on the end, and you can see the difference there in the early cord off a 706 most likely, and the later cord probably off a 746. So when people talk about the early fat cords, whatever, that's what they're talking about. That's the difference that they're talking about. And my phone on the desk here, that's got a fat cord on it as well. It's got a fat cord on it as well. Although that's not actually a BT phone. Right, hang on. Right, let's get it all in the right place now. So I've been doing handset cords and things. Arthur G says he's not anywhere exotic, just Yorkshire. Yorkshire's quite exotic. It's exotic to me. I'm in Derbyshire. I have to have my passport to go to Yorkshire. So, where was I before I did that interlude? Arthur, are you anywhere near James Herriot country? Because All Creatures Great and Small has restarted on TV here in the UK this week. Channel 5 have remade it, and it's quite good. I can certainly recommend it. If you remember it from years ago, those of you in other parts of the world probably won't, because you've probably never seen it, but those of you in the UK will probably remember All Creatures Great and Small from years ago. It's restarted on Channel 5 on a Tuesday night. I'll give it a quick plug because it's quite good. So if you're at a loose end 9 o'clock on Tuesday night, watch that on Channel 5. Tell them that I sent you. Alright? Right, back to the handset cords. All these handset cords have been recovered. Basically what happened was I got a load of handsets complete except for the fact they'd had the elements taken out. They'd had the little speaker and the little microphone taken out, but the handsets were complete with the cord. So I've taken the handsets apart now. Here's one of them that I've taken apart. I've taken them apart now to make them just shells and that, and this is one that we've cleaned up. Now these have not been colour restored or anything. If there's any scratches in them, they're still there, but basically I'll go and have another rummage for another one. Yeah, here's one that shows they've not been colour restored. That's an ivory one in theory, but they have been cleaned, so they've all been taken apart and cleaned. So that's an ivory one. That's the colour it should be, and that's after it's got its suntan from years and years and years. Arthur G says, yeah, he thinks he is in James Herriot country. He's in North Yorkshire, but he's originally from Scotland. I remember All Creatures Great and Small from the late 1970s, he said. My mother watched it. Yeah, well, it's back. It's back, and it's good. So you'll be able to have a look at it. So, Moog Dome's here as well. Evening, Moog. So these are the things that I've cleaned up that came out that big batch of stuff that arrived the other day. All sorts of cords and things, all sorts of colours and stuff of cords. And I've got a blue one here as well. Look. So this is just the first few that I've cleaned up. I've got some more to do. I've got some more that I need to wash. and I've also then got some more that I need to take apart. I've got at least another one, maybe two banana boxes full of handsets that I need to take apart. Christopher says he was restoring handset calls on a PMG 891 war phone and a Telecom Australia 802 phone. What do you do now? Do you know the trick, Chris, to restore the curliness in cords? If you notice these cords, they're all quite nice, nicely curled. These ones, I can't find a bad one, so I've done all these. You see how they're all really well curled. They're well curled when they sort of support their own weight, and they don't do that under their own weight. They should sort of, when you let them go like that, they should sort of stay quite short. If by any chance they don't, what you have to do is make the twist in the cord go the other way. If they don't stay short like that. So I need to find a bad one. I need to find a bad one, and I will show you what we do to redo it. Christopher says, why a GPO handset to a CB radio? That's interesting. How do you press the button? Does the CB handset not have a little button on it that you have to press? How do you put a little switch on the handset? Or is the button somewhere else on the unit on the desk? I'll be back in a moment. I've just got to go and find a handset cord that hasn't been restored. I'm back, but I've not been very successful. I've just realised I've locked them all away for now, so unfortunately I can't show you one that's not been done, but I can show you the process of doing one, hopefully. So what happens with these cords? They go sort of, see, that one's a bit droopy. Can you see how that one's a bit droopy? It's not tight. So what you have to do is, instead of it going that way, you have to make it twist the other way. So you start twisting it the opposite way. Now I have in my dim and distant past done a video all about this that you can find on the channel somewhere. If you have a look on YouTube or indeed on library, and you make it go the other way, and it tightens it up when you twist it the other way on itself. Can you see how much tighter that half is than the other half now? And you see, I'm twisting it the other way, you've got that funny kinked bit in it there. So see how loose that is. Watch in a minute. Christopher says the handset that he has, that is wired into the CB radio, already had a push to talk button on it. He thinks it came out of an old police radio from the 70s. Yeah, it could have. I've sometimes seen those handsets with push to talk buttons on. I think they were on things like radio sets and stuff. I guess the companies that made them, people like Pi and Plessy and people like that, they made other things. You know, they made radios as well as telephones and stuff. And I guess if they needed a handset for something, they just used the standard handset that they were making millions of for the GPO at the time. So now I've nearly done this. Dominic's in the chat as well. He says, hello there Dominic. Right, I've nearly done it. I'm nearly at the end, you see. So I'm just winding it the other way, making the coils run the other way. And hopefully what you'll find is it is slightly tighter. Now most of it is, this half isn't. And that's because this, see, that half's worked, that top half's worked, the bottom half hasn't worked so well. That's because this handset cord's probably been left for many years with half of it wound one way and half of it wound the other way, with that strange loopy bit in the middle that you see in them. So it's not worked entirely, but you get the idea of what we do to do it, to tighten the cords up. So that's what I've been doing this week. I've been tightening up the old handset cords. This one's quite interesting. I don't know if you can see this. Can you see the colour of this? It's kind of light brown. Can you see that? That's not a colour that the GPO ever did a phone. Look at the end where it's been inside the phone. It's grey. So you know how the cases sort of go suntanned and go different colours when they're made out of ABS. Apparently the line cords, the curly cords rather, do it as well. That I've never seen one that's gone quite that bad, but it's got a really light brown colour. Oops, I'm getting things now. That's the colour it should be alongside it. Right, I'm dropping handsets. But you see, there, those two, that one and that one, are theoretically the same colour. But, of course, they're not the same colour in reality. One's gone a browny colour and one hasn't. And here, again, these two, here you see, they are both ivory. This one's yellow. This one's yellow. That's a yellow one. That's an ivory one, obviously, but that's also an ivory one. So what we've discovered, and I didn't realise this until I started looking at these, is that the cords seem to discolour the same way that the cases do, which has come as a bit of a surprise to me. Yeah, it's a bit odd. Right, what's happening in the chat? Dominic says, when fixing the doorbell in his house, he came across an original Bell Set 26. It says it looks like it was put there in the mid-50s, as the base says FWR 55. I've cosmetically restored it by cleaning up the case. Arthur G says he's got a brown curly cord that went that same way that's gone. So it was originally a grey curly cord, I take it, then Arthur, that's gone brown. Also the ivory cords have green underneath or blue. Also the grommets on the red ones fade to a horrible browny grey colour. The ivory cords have green or blue underneath. That's a new one on me. I've not heard that before. So you're telling me that these could be green or blue? Well, there's no sign of it on these. But having said that, I did have a blue one that looked a bit grey, so it's possible, I guess. But yeah, I think the thing that to learn about these chords is basically you have to pick one that is in keeping with your telephone. So if you've got, let's say, an ivory phone that's not gone a dark colour, it's not been in the sun and not gone a dark colour, you'd fit that chord to it. But if you have got an ivory one that has got a bit of a suntan, you'd probably fit that one to it that's a bit tanned itself, because as you can see, they're perfectly good looking chords. It's just that they might not be the right shade exactly. So this is what I've been doing. Now, why have I been restoring all these chords, you may ask? Well, the reason is I've now got 4 more bits and pieces than I need. Alright? So I've decided that I'm going to open a bit of a shop to sell on some of the bits and some other things as well eventually that are not telephone related. But we're opening a bit of an online shop so we can pass on some of the parts, some of the spare parts, some of the proper original spares, because there's a lot of people out there selling reproduction stuff but not many people selling proper original spares and things, and these are, as you can see, original spares. So we are going to try and get an online shop going, and I will take you to it and I will show you it in just a moment too. Just catching up on the chat. Arthur says yes, the ivory chords can go green. I think the paint fades on them. Paint? So you think they're painted? Hang on, they shouldn't be painted. Have you got one that somebody's painted? A green chord that somebody's like done with emulsion or something like that. I can imagine the paint may be, you can get paint for painting sort of rubbery or canvassy things because they use it on the sides of curtain side of trucks. This paint that's kind of rubbery and can move. So I'm guessing you could probably paint a line chord with it, you know, because it's got to have some flex in it, hasn't it? But I'm guessing you could probably do that. So I'm wondering, Arthur, if you've got a painted line chord that somebody's changed the colour of for some reason, but I don't think it would have originally been painted. Now in America they do paint things, they paint phone cases and that in America. The Bell system used to get phones back and actually paint them, actually spray paint them different colours. But in this country we've never done that, so it's strange. Arthur says the colour seems to fade, it wears off. You know, I think you've got an oddball one there, Arthur. I think you've got an oddball chord there. Dominic says any light green plain dial bezels would be great, Andy. Light green. You want light green ones, do you? I don't know if I've got any of those or not. I've certainly not put them in the shop yet, but I don't know if I've got any or not. Christopher 2000 says he hardwired his GP0162 central battery phone to the line to the switchboard. Jimmy says a friend's dad had a garage. One of the lads who worked there sprayed a 706 phone purple for a bet. And Arthur says he's got several of these strange coloured chords. They must have used something to colour them in the first place. In some cases it fades. I've not come across any. Oh, that's a new one on me. I'll keep a lookout now. So you're saying some of the chords are not to the colour of the plastic they're made out of, sort of thing. They've been like recoloured somehow. Back to Jimmy and his friend's dad, who sprayed a 706 purple. It's not the first time it's been done. I've got an orange 746 that somebody did. And the only reason I bought it was because orange is a colour that they did contemplate making 746s in for a while. And I just wanted to see what it looked like. It's actually an ivory one underneath. And of course, in the world of television, they were renowned for painting phones funny colours. If you remember Rod, Hull and Emu, in the latter years of Rod, Hull and Emu, they had a kids show called Emu's World, which then spun off into a thing called the All Life Pink Windmill Show, there's episodes of it on YouTube. They had a bit on that because it was a live show where kids could phone in and speak to Rod and Emu, and they had a 706 phone on that started out life as a black one, but they painted pink because they were in the pink windmill and everything in the pink windmill's pink. So they painted the black phone pink, and you could tell it was a black phone because the cords on it were still black. But the rest of it, like the handset and the body of the phone, they'd actually painted pink. And also, famously, the Golden Shot had a golden trim phone. That wasn't painted, that was electroplated in some way to give a proper gold finish on it. So that was in some way electroplated onto the plastic. I don't quite know how you do that, but that's what they did. So the Golden Shot had a golden trim phone. And also, if you remember the multicoloured swap shop from the late 70s and early 80s on a Saturday morning, another kids show, that had weird coloured trim phones as well, that started out life as grey ones, which are a very light colour, you can hardly tell they're grey, but they coloured the handsets on them. And I think the reason they did it was they had a lot of phones on the set, and they needed to know who had picked up what phone, because they had if they had like 5 or 6 phones on the set, if they had a band on, somebody like Duran Duran or something, and all the band members picked up a phone, and Noel Edmonds picked up a phone as well, they had to know what to route to what phone, sort of thing. And so they all had different coloured handsets. But again, I think those handsets were painted. If you look close, the finish on them doesn't look very good. So I think somebody in BBC props just slapped some paint on the handsets of them. But again, it's on YouTube. Look for multicoloured swap shop. You'll find the coloured phones. He had an orange one. He had a Phoenix phone, an orange one on the desk for a while. But there's these weird coloured grey ones as well on there, and they were all trim phones on that show as well, except for he did have a special what was probably a 706 type thing on the desk that I think he could talk to the gallery on before they had earpiece talkback. Arthur G says he'll try to send me some photos of these strange cords. Yep, send away, Arthur. If you've got the email address, send it to the email address you've got. If you've not got the email address, just drop me a quick message on andyshed.coldpress.net, and then I will message you back with an email address. Right. Dominic says, there's some awful phones on eBay, including newspaper pasted onto 746s, one of which was a Mark 1 case. Yeah, there are. I've seen them. They also do a thing, now what do they call it? I forget what they call it, there's a name for it. But it's basically where you get like a design of something on a sheet of, well, it's like on a sheet of film, it's like a sheet of paper, but it's not really paper. And you get this design, and you get a bowl of water, and you lay this paper flat on top of the water, and the design then comes off the backing paper, and you're going to lift the backing paper off, and the design stays on the water like an oil slick of paint on the water. And then what you do, you take something that you want to put the design on, and you carefully dip it in one end and then sort of roll it around in the water, and the surface tension of the water with this film on it sort of sticks it all to whatever you're trying to put the design onto. And some of them are done like that. What do they call it? Is it aqua printing? It's not aqua printing, but it's something like that. Jimmy says, Ernie in Blackpool had a gold telephone because we visited with the school in 1975. I bought some premium bonds on that visit. I've never won. No, I've never won either. My dad used to win all the time on the premium bonds. Ernie, for those of you who don't know, is a computer called the Electronic Random Number Indicator, which is why he's actually called Ernie, because Electronic Random Number Indicators. Ernie with, I don't think he's actually got an E on the end, has he, Jimmy? Ernie, it's E-I-N-I, isn't it? Or do they put an E on the end? Or is it Electronic Random Number Indication Equipment? It could be that, yeah. But anyway, Ernie is a computer that lives near Blackpool, and it basically picks premium bond numbers. If you don't know what premium bonds are, it's very similar to the National Lottery before we had the National Lottery. And you bought these bonds, these premium bonds, and if you were a lucky winner, you could win like £5 or £10 or maybe £20 even if Ernie picked your number out. Or you could win big money sometimes, but not many people won big money. But quite a few people used to win fivers and tenors and things. I think the least you can win now is £20 or £50 or something like that. Now they did away with the small win ones. But yeah, my dad used to win them all the time. Even after he died, he won one. After he died, he got a letter saying you've won a premium bond. But yeah, so Ernie had a gold trim phone, did he? Because what was that for? Was that to like call the winner or something? Arthur G says he's got loads of 706 parts, coloured finger wheels, back plates, alphanumeric bezels with clamps. Some are a bit tarnished with faded paint or discoloration. It'd be good to know what paint they used. Yeah, well, if we're talking about the curly cords there, Arthur, it would be good to know what paint they used. I've not got the foggiest idea what coloured paint they used. I say until this evening, I didn't know they painted them. Moogdon says he has won the premium bonds. He says he's won twice, in fact, £70 in total. Not much, but better than the bank interest. Yeah, I guess it is, really, isn't it? Yeah, I don't think I've ever won anything on them. I've had premium bonds in there since I was a kid. You know, and sort of relatives and that bought them for me and that, and I've never won a bean on the premium bonds. I keep saying I'm going to go to Blackpool and visit Ernie and see if he's remembered who I actually am. Just make sure he's not mislaid my address or something. Which he could well have. Yeah. But anyway, time is marching on, and as I say, I've been restoring all these bits and pieces and all these things, and I've done a few cases as well. This is a 706 case, as you can see. Quite nice. It's still got a paster label inside with the wiring diagram on it. But that's just one of the 706s and things that I've done. So, but if you're watching a couple of weeks ago, you'll see I did get quite a lot of these cases and things. And so what I've decided to do is I've decided to open an online shop to pass some of these items on. Right, so these are not new items, these are all sort of second-hand items, and it won't all be telephone stuff in this shop either. It is for now, because we're just getting going, but eventually there'll be other things in it as well. So if you want to go and have a look at the shop after the show, this is the address that you need to write down. It's andysemporium.coldpress.net. So it's another cold press site. It's andysemporium.coldpress.net, and that is where the shop hangs out. And if you go and have a look at it, then you will come to this page here, and this is the page you land on for Andy's Vintage Emporium. And you want to go to the shop, just click on shop somewhere, and it will in a minute take you there. There you go. it's taking you there. So there we are now in the shop, and as you can see, there's just a few bits and pieces on there at the moment that I've dug out and checked out of all those boxes that I was going through the other week. But there are a couple of complete restored phones on there as well. There's a Genie here, and there's a 746 and Mark II case there as well. But these are the cases. You see, there's one for a wall phone, 700 series wall phone. It fits both varieties. That case, but you'll see if we look at that one a little bit closer. You see, you can zoom in on the image and that, or you can get a full screen thing of the image like that. And you can see that one has got a bit of a suntan. Now, these cases have not been colour restored. They can be colour restored. I've got videos of doing it. I've done it on the live show as well. But I thought it's better just to pass them on to people and let other people have a go at doing it. So I'm passing them on at a sensible price. The rarer ones are more expensive than the not very rare ones. So I'm trying to pass them all on to people at reasonably sensible prices that hopefully will let us buy more stuff from various places and keep doing this and keep the originality, if you like, for people who are serious about restoring phones and stuff. So there's just one of the things that you can get. Yeah, and as you can see, there's a description of it and what it is. And if you were to want to buy one, all you do is simply add it to your basket like that. So I've just clicked on the add to basket thing. Then you can view your basket either here or even up here if you want. View your basket, and it's one item. And the expensive bit of anything online that you do is the shipping, and there's just nothing you can do about it because it costs what it costs to get stuff through the post, and particularly at the moment with everybody doing everything sort of mail order, it is a bit expensive. But if you were to buy two of these cases, the shipping doesn't double, because it's quite intelligent how it works it out, so it doesn't actually double. So the more stuff you buy, the more sensible the price of the shipping is. I will take that out of my basket so it goes back into the shop for now. But there it is. Just click on visit our shop when you land on that page there, and you'll find stuff, and there's more stuff going on throughout the upcoming days as well. We'll be sticking more stuff into the shop there, and now we're only delivering to the UK at the moment. So if you come to check out and you find your country is not listed, sorry about that at the minute, but we're only delivering to the UK at the moment. because it's much more complicated with postage to get stuff out to other parts of the world. But there it is. There's the shop. I promised you last week I said we'd try and get it up and running for this week. We have just about managed to do it. It's not got a right lot of stuff in it at the moment, but there will be more stuff going in. So feel free to keep checking back, and it won't all be telephone related. There will be other antique stuff and stuff you generally can't get, things like nuts and bolts that you might want as well, because I have a devil of a job buying a nut and a bolt these days. So there'll be all sorts of stuff like that, and that's the link to go to find the shop. andysemporium.corepress.net is the place to go to. Okay, have you got it? You have. Right. Right, I'm just going back to the chat again. Christopher says it did two-tone grey GPO 706 use the chrome carry handles, because my GPO 706 has a chrome carry handle. Simple answer to that one is no, they didn't. The GPO didn't use the chrome carry handles at all. The people who did were Ericsson. So if there wasn't, they made like Ericsson 1900 phones that looked like 706s but weren't, basically. They're what I call 706 clones, but made for private networks. They used the chrome carry handles. The GPO never did. After some of the 706s were refurbished to make them more like 746s, i.e. after they had the alphanumeric bezels taken off and replaced with plain ones, and they got dials with clear finger wheels and things like that. After that, they did tend to come out, a lot of them, with plastic handles, plastic carrying handles on them, but they never ever had the chrome ones. Not a GPO phone, not as original. Dominic says original green trim phone line cords seem to be very hard to find. Were they green? See, the green trim phone was oddball because trim phones were two-tone. And what a lot of people now think is a green trim phone is actually a blue trim phone that's got a funny colour because of the ABS doing odd things. But the green ones now, the only bit of them that tends to look green these days is the handset, and that looks a sort of dark, sort of camouflage green sort of colour, and the actual body of the phone tends to look sort of grey or even brownish these days. But I think the cord was to match the handset colour generally, so that should probably have been that dark green. There is somebody doing replacement cords for trim phones, like they do replacement cords for 746s and 706s. An original cord for a trim phone, you need the little box on the end, because though the round cord, it's very difficult to fit a modern BT style plug, one of those, onto the end of it. It's almost impossible to fit one of those, because they are designed for, like, and you can see, they are designed for a flat cord, and those round cords, it's very difficult to fit one onto it. So what I tend to do is use the little box, you know, the little terminal block box, and then have a bit of flat cord coming out of that, and then the thing on the end of it. So that's what I tend to do for that. I do it that. Of course, I haven't got any line cords in amongst all this lot to show you. But I tend to, that is the one bit that I do often replace. I do often replace line cords. Right, I'm just looking at the chat again. Dominic Meekin says, the two-tone avocado green ones. That is, that fade to brown green. Yeah, that's right, Dominic. The phones fade to brown green, don't they? Those two phones, a brown body with a green handset and sort of dirty sort of green. You know, sort of let's say a sort of khaki green colour. They fade to. Jimmy says both my 706s have carrying handles. Because I asked the bloke I bought them off to fit them for me. The red phone has a red one, the green phone has a green one. Yeah, well, of course, that's the beauty of it. If you want to call it beauty, it works both ways. You can fit more or less anything to anything with GPO phones because everything's sort of cross-compatible and stuff. This is why we now have such a lot of trouble working out what is original and what isn't, because people have swapped and changed things over the years, and even the GPO themselves swapped and changed things. You know, when an engineer came out to your phone, if there was something wrong with it and you hadn't got the right coloured bit in the van, he'd temporarily fit the wrong coloured bit and then go away and probably forget about it. So you'll end up with an ivory phone with a green dial bezel or something like that because your ivory dial bezel broke. It didn't happen very often. That they were quite good at getting the right thing, but it can happen. And of course now people do mix bits up on purpose. The thing that I see a lot is people use a red case on an ivory phone. So all the other bits are still ivory, but just the case, they just replace that with the red one, so you then end up with this strange hybrid. Looks quite pretty and people sell a lot of them, but it's not entirely correct. So it's difficult now sometimes to work out what is original and what isn't. That's why I like to buy phones that are dirty and not working. The more dust and dirt and guns there is on something, the more I like it, because I know from the state of it that it's not been touched for 30 or 40 years. So, you know, it is as it should be. It hasn't been messed with. So I like to buy the phones where when you take the case off the phone, it's all full of cobwebs and a mouse's nest and things inside it. They're the ones that I like because they're the ones that we know haven't been messed with. Christopher says, I think my GPO 162 phone bell set originally was white. Had white paint on it. The bell set case is black. A 162, right. It wouldn't have been white, it might have been ivory. And you should be able to tell if, I think my GPO 162 phone bell sets originally was white. The base plate had white paint on it. Well, the base plate from the bell set on your 162. See, it's a pyramid phone, isn't it? A 162. The white paint. Be very careful because those bell sets, although you can fit them under a pyramid phone, are often not underneath the phone. They're often remote on a wall somewhere. And what happens is people paint the wall, and because of how those bell sets are designed, people used to take the case off to paint the wall but leave the rest of it on the wall, so it'd get a coat of white emulsion over the edges of it, just the base, and then they put the thing back on again. Sometimes the whole thing they just left on the wall and just painted over the whole thing. I've got 1 or 2 bell sets, bell set 26s, that are emulsioned in magnolia, because people have just emulsioned them over the wall. So don't use the paint on the base as a guide that it was originally white, because the paint is probably from the wall it was on, rather than the actual phone. If your phone was, it wouldn't have been white, as I say, it would have been ivory, and it also wouldn't have been Bakelite if it was ivory. They were made out of something else, and the kind of early form of plastic they were made out of, I forget what they call it, it's got some really complex chemical name, but what they made those ivory phones out of in the Bakelite era tends to degrade with time, when it's open to, not just with light but with air and that, and it goes really funny, and it kind of like melts and warps and goes yellow, and it gets like scabs on the surface and goes really, really strange. So if you've got a genuine ivory phone, you have to watch out for that happening with those. It only happens with certain bits of them though, because certain bits are made out of different types of plastic and that. And if you've got a green or a red Bakelite era phone, as I call them, either a 200 series or a 300 series, they were made out of Diacon, because Diacon was around for a long time before the 700 series came out. We associate it with 700 series phones, but Diacon was around, and the coloured ones were made out of Diacon. But the ivory ones weren't, I don't think. They were made out of something else, and of course the black ones were made out of Bakelite, and provided you don't break it, because obviously Bakelite is brittle, provided you don't break it or chip it, Bakelite is impervious to anything, it'll last forever. Jimmy says, when we first moved in this house we had a blue trim phone. My mum hated it. We got it changed to an ivory 746. Bad luck, Jimmy. So you went from what was probably the rarest phone that the GPO issued at the time to the commonest there. Did your mum know she was going from something special to something really, really common? I bet she didn't. Dominic says his bell set 26 had emulsion paint marks all over it. So this bell set 26 that you found, Dominic, that's the one, if you take the cover off, that's the one that does not have the induction coil, isn't it, the 26? It's designed for a phone with the induction coil in the phone. I think the 25's the same bell set, but the 25's got the induction coil in the bell set, and the 26 they omitted it because by then they were putting induction coils in the actual phone. And I've got loads of the ones without the induction coil in, and I want one with the induction coil in. I haven't got a single one. or I want one of the induction coils to fit if anybody's got one out there. For the 150 that I'm doing up on the windowsill here. Christopher 2000 says it had white paint underneath the base. This bell set, yeah, but did it get that off the wall? Did somebody shove the paintbrush up underneath it on the wall? Did it get it off the wall? I'm suspicious that the white paint came off the wall for that bell set. Christopher 2000 says, I've never known the difference against the GPO 162 and the 232 phones. Right, I'm not an expert on this particular era, right? I know more about the 700 series and that sort of thing. But I think I'm right in saying, technically, the telephone 162 was the handset and the 232 was the whole phone. I think I'm right in saying that. I think a Tele 162 is the handset, just the handset for some reason. I think. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% certain, but I think that's the reason for it. I think basically it is a 232. What's this that I've got down here? I just remembered I've got one down here. Hang on. Right, this is where everything falls apart now. One of those, Christopher. Now this is a 232L. Yep. But the 162 that you're talking about, I think, is that. I think that's a 162. That's a 232. I'm not 100% certain on this. Somebody please correct me if you know better. But I think that's how it works. Dominic says he thinks the 232 is a minor wiring revision on the 162. That could also be the case. I can tell you, this 232 has got, I believe, the induction coil inside the phone. So I think a 162 probably hasn't. I think the difference then, if that's right what you say there, Dominic, that the 232 is a wiring difference on the 162. I think the difference is where they put the induction coil. On the 162, the induction coil is in the bell set. On the 232, the induction coil is in the phone, I think. Because I'm pretty certain with this, it's inside the phone. Shall we check? Shall we? How are we doing for time? 57, 58. Oh, we're going to overrun, but who cares? It's Sunday. Right, I'm going to move all these out of the way for now. These handset cords. Some of these handset cords will be going up on the online shop. If you want a handset cord, they will be going up. There's grey ones on at the minute, but there's no picture of it because I've yet to take the picture. But it will be. There will be other colours going up. Right. So this is a 232. Right, and I believe there is no induction coil in here. No, I believe there is an induction coil in here, rather. Because this goes with a bell set 26, not with a bell set 25. Yep, there is. There it is, look. There's your induction coil inside it. So the induction coil's in here. No capacitor, because that's in the bell set still. So yeah, I think that's the difference. I think a 162 probably hasn't got that in there. I think a 162, you'll be able to check this and let us know, Chris. But I think a 162, that is in the bell set. I believe. I think that's the case. I think. Like I say, I'm not 100% certain, but I think so. Right, I've got to put this back together now. You know, we're talking about plastics that do weird things. Well, apparently the draw fronts on these were made out of something different to Bakelite. The main body of these is Bakelite, but apparently that draw front and this bit is like what I sort of call cow horns on the top of the phone, and this plunger thing, they apparently are not Bakelite. They're something else, and they go strange. And if you look at the top of this piece, not the plungers, I replaced the plunger, but this piece has gone a bit odd on this one. So yeah, and the draw fronts go funny as well apparently. But yeah, I think that's the thing. I think this is a 232 because it's got the induction coil in it. But as I said, I could be wrong. So Dominic says, I'd love to reunite the bell set I found with the 232 one day, provided I can find one for a sensible price. Yeah, one of these he's talking about. You can find them for a sensible price, you just have to bide your time and look. I think this one that I've got here, I bought two together, and I don't know if I paid £20 for the two or £20 each for them. I can't remember. But the problem with them is there are big cracks in the case that I've had to repair, and you can still see it in this one. Just, if I can get the right camera, there's a big crack down there. I don't know if you can see that on the thing. But it's been sort of repaired for now. But I do need to do a better repair on it than that. But all these things, it's a learning curve. You're learning how to do the repairs and things. And Bakelite, I've got much better at Bakelite over the years, but still not totally invisible, the repairs that you do. Christopher says he got a 162CB phone for $65 in Australia. Yeah, that's probably about right, I would have said. CB ones are not as desirable because they've got no dial on, you see, as well. So they're not as desirable, CB. You can put a dial on them. But you probably don't want to do that because it will spoil the originality of it. But you can put a dial on them. And a lot of phones that pop up these days in the UK were originally dial-less and have had dials put on. Moogdome says, put a bit of shoe polish over that crack, that'll get rid of it. Yeah, I've tried that. It works to a certain degree. That does. It does certainly work to a certain degree. I have seen a mottled Bakelite phone, a Siemens phone, I believe it was. It wasn't a GPO one, that was totally smashed. And it got rebuilt by somebody, and he did something with resin. And there's a web page somewhere about it, and it shows the before and after, and the restoration is remarkable. You can't see the joint sort of thing, and it was smashed to smithereens. You can't see the joint. There's a long description about him restoring it and that, but he doesn't actually say quite what he did. So the exact procedure remains a mystery. People don't tell you exactly what they do when they do stuff like that, because they realise they can make a lot of money out of restoring broken Bakelite. But I'll tell you what I do. If I can find all the bits, this is what I do at the moment. If I can find all the bits, and I do mean all the bits, I basically glue it together with very thin super glue, and I use the glue sparingly on the crack, make sure it's perfectly clean, the two broken halves, and then just glue it back together, and it will almost disappear. It won't disappear entirely, but it will almost disappear. And as Moodome says, a bit of shoe polish then on the crack can sometimes make it disappear a bit more. But the ideal way of doing it is this way with this resin, and like I say, I've started doing a few experiments with it, but it's time it takes to do it. Dominic says 232s seem to be going for £200 to £300 at the moment. Yeah, I'll say this. I've said this before. I'll say it again. They're worth what somebody wants to pay for them. If people are daft enough to pay £200 or £300 for a phone they made millions off, they'll go on with it. I won't be. You'll need to knock a nought off that before I consider it. But if you want one that's fully restored, I guess it's probably worth £200, because if you think how long it takes to take one apart and restore it, then you know then you've got to think about the time involved and that. It's getting a bit dark in here. So we have some lights on the subject. Oh, that's made it all go funny. Right. Oh my God, I've gone green. Alright, will that sort itself out, do we think? Or do I need to do something with the colour band? Hang on, let's... No, I've definitely gone green. Right, let's do something about that. Just bear with me a moment. I'm going to try and alter my greenness. If I possibly can. Right, I think that's a bit better. Sorry, I went a funny colour there. I think that's a bit better than it was. It's not brilliant still, but it's a little bit better. Christopher says, when I got my GPO 162, it didn't work. My mum and I stripped it down, cleaned it and rebuilt it again and got it to work again. And now it's connected to a switchboard. And Dominic says, yeah, it's silly money at that price. This is the £200, £300 for a phone. The absolute most I'd pay would be £100 for a really nice example in top condition. But even then, that's a lot in my opinion. Having said that, this dealer guy that I went to the other day, he's selling 300 series for about £150 each, he said, and he's never been so busy. There you go. So yeah, it keeps people going. You see, there are people willing to pay money for restored phones and that. That's not me, because I'd restore it myself. I'd rather buy it cheaper and restore it myself. Hello, I'm going the right colour again now. That's better. What's happened there? Hello, I'm back. I've come back on a different camera, just to make life a little bit easier. Yeah, because my computer has utterly and totally crashed out, as you will see if I can turn this camera around. How do you turn this? I've never quite worked out how to turn this round on this phone. I think you do. Something like that. Yeah. Oh, it's crashed out. I've had to reboot it. So yeah, not not entirely sensible there. Right, we're almost at the end of the show again. Anyway, the computer nearly lasted for an entire show. Just catching up on the chat. Dominic says, yeah, it's silly money at that price. The absolute most you pay would be £100. Yeah, I just read that one, haven't I? But yeah, no, that's it. That is about the size of it. But that's what happens, I guess. You know, people will pay money for a restored phone. As I say, it's not me. I don't pay for something that is restored. I buy the stuff in bits basically, and then go from there with the restoration, and that. So that's the way that I do it personally. Right, we'll go a bit further. I can turn this computer off then, can't I? I can switch that off. Hang on. Shut down. Right, I can shut that down now because you're handheld now, so I can move around and stuff. So as I said, we've not really been doing much this week. Not telephone related anyway. I have been doing stuff outside. I bought a 60-year-old rotavator to do the garden this week as well. I went out on Bank Holiday Monday, bought a 60-year-old rotavator to do the garden with, and it works brilliantly. Dominic says, thanks all, see you next week. Yeah, thanks very much, Dominic. We will see you next week, all being well, around about 6 o'clock again. Moodome says, have a good week, everyone. Christopher 2000, I got my switchboard for $110 in Australia. That wasn't bad, actually, that, Christopher. That wasn't bad at all. I believe yours is the same as mine, isn't it? Or very similar to the one that I've got, the wooden one that I've got. Right, I think we will leave it there for today. Thanks very much to everybody who has joined us in the chat. Thanks very much for watching wherever you happen to be out there. As I said, the shop is up and running. If you want to get any bits and pieces out of the shop, you can do. There's also a contact form on the shop website, just like there's one on the Andy Shed website as well. If anybody wants to do any swaps of any bits and pieces that they see in the shop, I'm happy to swap bits and pieces over as well for people. Next week we will be back around about the same time, same place. Tons more going to be happening next week. We'll probably show you some of the recent restorations and that next week, I think. If anybody's got anything they particularly want to see on the show, get in touch with us, andyshed.coldpress.net, and then fill in the contact us form. Get on there and let us know, and we will cover whatever content you want to see next week. In the meantime, I'm going to be uploading more stuff to the shop. If you want the shop address again, I can't put it up on the screen now because I've switched to a mobile. But it's andysemporium.coldpress.net is the shop address, and you can have a look on there. That's andysemporium.coldpress.net. Okay, all right. So that is about as far as we go. I can't see myself because when you do it with this, the chat comes over your face on the screen. It's a bit silly, that. YouTube, this is very silly. But we'll be back next week. So is there anything you particularly want to see next week? Let me know. Chris says, yeah, we have to do a phone swap one day. Yeah, we do, Chris. Yeah. We'll get on that. I just need to get to the post office and find out sort of what the carriage is and how to get it sent, if indeed I can ship it to Australia, because sometimes they're a bit strange about shipping things with capacitors in, because they think capacitors are bombs. It's really ridiculous, but yeah, we do need to sort that out. So Next week, we're back. Same time, same place, around about 6 p.m. again. Remember, Tuesday. Watch All Creatures Great and Small if you're in the UK. Channel 5, 9 p.m. Honestly, I don't get anything for it. It's just a good show. So until next time, have a great week ahead, whatever you are doing, and we'll see you next week. And yeah, have a great one. Bye for now.